Welcome to Coastal Conservative News, the news that you want to hear. We are so excited that you have joined us today with myself and Michelle. We are happy to be here. Oh my gosh, in this frigid Florida.
Check on your Florida family. We are not okay. Guys, welcome to the Week in Review. Listen, Allie, I want to make sure we discuss the inauguration. We'll get to that in a little bit because a lot's taken place this week. But we have to first address the fact that we had snowfall here in Florida.
My gosh. So I remember when I came down to visit some family a couple, like maybe 10 years ago, and they talked about how there was this blizzard, right? The snow of Florida, where there was just some flurries, and they talked about it. I think it was like in the 90s, right?
Yeah. Oh,
and they always talking about it. And so I feel like now I have the right to talk about it forever with my own children.
You've got your own stories of flurries, and we can confirm it because we drove through it.
So almost got stuck, actually.
There was a time where, according to NASA, there was a video or a photo from space where in the Gulf of Mexico.
Wait a minute. It's the Gulf of America now.
It's the Gulf of America. Oh, I got to remember that. In the Gulf of America, from the Gulf Coast of Florida all the way through to the Gulf Coast of Texas was white with snow.
Imagine that, seeing snow on the beach. Wow.
And I'm here to tell you, Allie and I can both say that it is cold here in Florida. We've seen temperatures dip. There were allegedly snow flurries in Tampa, your neck of the woods there.
Well, it was frozen temperatures. We had a freeze warning that went out for several counties in western, northern Tampa, I guess you'd say. It was really, really cold.
Really cold. Still cold. We are expecting, hopefully, a little bit of a warm up. And I'm going to say I'm happy with anything 60 degrees or higher. This 40 degrees, 30 degrees nonsense isn't for me.
Especially coming off of Inauguration Day.
Inauguration Day. Guys, we want to make sure that you reach out to us on social media. We want to know, what were your plans on Inauguration Day? A lot of people had.
How did you celebrate?
How did you celebrate? Did you have people over at your house? I know we had locally here in Venice, there was a couple of different organizations and groups that got together, grassroots conservatives getting together. Allie and I had the had the pleasure of going to Washington, D.C. So can we take a minute and just talk about that?
And it was a pleasure. Although it was frigid temperatures, guys, I think it got to like 12 degrees at one point. At least that's what it felt like with the wind chill when we're walking with our silk dresses and high heels blocks away from events that we had to go through because of all of the increased insecurity.
And there was a lot of talk, Allie, about whether or not the last-minute decisions to move all of the festivities indoors, whether that was maybe security related or if it truly was weather related. I'm here to tell you I don't know. Obviously, I don't have that kind of clearance as to what might have occurred security-wise. Security was tight, but I'm here to tell you it was cold. I couldn't imagine people standing out in hours for that inauguration, so I'm glad they moved indoors.
Well, actually, some people did. On the day of the victory rally, there were some folks that camped outside of the Chase Arena, the Capital One Arena, with their chairs and all of their belongings overnight, guys, in frigid temperatures. That is the spirit of America, I think, but it might be a little crazy. I don't know.
Well, we have to talk about just the atmosphere in D.C. I feel like, I don't know. I know D.C. always votes extremely blue. I know their mayor is crazy. So I was shocked when we were walking through the streets of D.C. to see these caravans of MAGA pumping out, Forgiato blow music and all the Trump flags. It was MAGA Nation in D.C. That was exciting to see.
It is. D.C. is now MAGA Nation capital, and we are so excited for that. I mean, the energy in D.C. was electrifying. It was, the embodiment of the American spirit. We had patriots that were walking around in their MAGA gear, their American flags. You weren't afraid to walk down the street. And everybody was so nice. They were opening doors for you, asking you how your day was. That is not the norm.
It felt like a big family reunion, to be honest.
It did.
And then, Trump hit the ground running. We're so used to snooze fest Joe Biden that to be able to report on these executive orders that are coming out, to be able to report on the pardons that are occurring, we're not used to having basically, a White House and a press room that operates that fast. So I feel like we're trying to run now to keep up with President Trump. We'll have more on that later in our show of the Political Pulse. But excited to see somebody in the White House who's all about business now.
And what was really interesting were a lot of the balls had a lot of very famous people, iconic people. I mean, you had I think almost every UFC fighter that I can almost imagine was there. I mean, we had St. George Pierre, who was there. He's phenomenal. His wife was absolutely beautiful. She attended the Moms for America Gala. We had Tim Kennedy, who is also UFC. He's a fighter, but also Green Beret. He was there. John Bone Jones was there, UFC champion, the best. He's one of the best in his ranking. Guys, I absolutely love UFC. It's my favorite sport. I used to train MMA, so it kind of just makes me so excited that they were all there. Who else was there? Jake Paul was there.
Well, and then all of the conservative media showed up. You know, not so much the legacy media that you typically see. We attended, an awards show, a Patriot Awards show. We ran into John Voight.
Yes, we did.
That's the father to Angelina Jolie. I geeked out a little bit. He does all the good Patriot things.
He called us beautiful, by the way.
He did. We put it on social media. Make sure you follow us. We also ran into or saw that Steve Bannon was there. Obviously, Vivek Ramaswamy, he's on the heels of maybe stepping down from Doge so he can run for the Ohio governorship.
Yes.
And
we are so here for that. I'm excited that Vivek is decided to run for Ohio governor. Ohio needs rescue, and I think he's the person for the job, that's for sure.
And then, of course, the evening ended as President Trump, 70-some years old, attended 3 balls. Plus the last one, he's dancing with a sword to the YMCA. I don't know what's in his coffee. We got to get our hands on that.
It was the happiest I think we've ever seen him, and then to have Melania next to him dancing while he's just being so himself. I feel like I love seeing that glimpse of humility, that glimpse of humanity in him, that glimpse of just being a person and not like the leader of the free world.
And maybe being able to enjoy it this time around. We also got our eyes on Barron Trump, who really has been unheard of. You know, he was so young during Trump's first administration, but him standing up in Capital One Arena to a thunderous applause and kind of doing the whole, you hear that?
Let me hear it. Yes, it was so amazing to see. It was amazing to watch and amazing to be there.
Yes.
Something I will definitely be talking about with my children and my children's children for years to come.
It was iconic. Guys, make sure that you stay tuned. We have Raj Doraisamy coming up next for the Suncoast community right here on CCN.
Hi, this is Raj Doraisamy with CCN News. I'm here at one of the many celebrations taking place on this Inauguration Day throughout the country, and I'm here to get a little bit of reaction in terms of why these folks have taken the time to come to the event. So thanks for speaking with me today.
Hi.
First thing I would like to ask is, what are you hoping for with this new presidency?
Oh, just a new America, a new innovation, the freedom, for Americans to be Americans, to end this conflict that's been, made up, really, that's separating all of us, and to just really be a great nation again, which is what America can be, and he brings that hope. So it's great.
Yes, hi. I'm excited about the golden age of America coming back. For far too long, we have been told that we are not exceptional. Our children are being educated to hate our country and to be divided. And it's so sad. It's not the America that I grew up in, and I'm very excited that my children are able to see this change and to be proud of their country. And I just think we are a light on the hill, and I want us to get back to American greatness.
I'm just honestly really happy to see the next 4 years, all that we are going to accomplish as Americans. I was definitely very moved because I feel like it was bringing patriotic America back again and common sense back again. So that's what I really love. For sure.
There are a lot of people that are not in favor of what Trump wants to accomplish. In fact, even people within his Republican Party are opposed to what he wants to do. Not to mention the people that perpetrated all of the attempts on his life. What are your concerns over the next 4 years for President Trump?
Oh, it's not even the next 4 years. This is a generational fight. And, I just pray for God's protection on him, his administration, and that the rule of law returns. They're delusional if they think the rule of law has been in effect. We can all see it. Common sense tells us that it hasn't been in effect. And so we need to bring that back. I'm not looking for revenge. I'm looking for justice for things that are wrong under the rule of law. So I'm just praying for him to do that. And I think he will.
Well, the Bible clearly tells us not to fear, and so I'm not fearful of anything during this administration. Watching how God turned President Trump's head for that assassination, you have to know that God's hand is in this, and he is not finished with our country. Our founders dedicated this country to him, and he is continuing to honor us, and we are having a revival in this country, which is very exciting. So I think that there's a feeling of excitement, a feeling of revival, a feeling of God's grace is upon us, and he is not finished with us yet, and it's very exciting to be alive at this time.
I second what she just said. Honestly, we have nothing to be afraid of. I felt like, God has put Trump in office for such a time as this, and as Christians, I feel like this is our time to occupy and take territory, because we all know Jesus is coming back soon.
Gus, tell me a little bit about why this event is important enough for you to come out here on this day.
I really just think it's about the energy and the fact that we've been waiting a long time for this to happen. We've been waiting for President Trump to come back and get reelected, and we've had some dark times, and this was just a celebration. As soon as you could get here, there was laughter, there was joy. You could tell people were excited. There was great food. Everybody was just, it's like the dark clouds had been lifted today when we were watching the inauguration. It was just really great to hear.
What are you hoping for with the new presidency, with the new president? What are you hoping for?
Honestly, I remember what it was like in 2016, and I'm kind of just hoping to get back on the track that we were on back then and continue what Trump started. And we unfortunately have a lot of things now that we need to clean up and undo that's been done the last 4 years. But he's a man of action. The last time he took office, the amount of things that happened just in the first 100 days was incredible. So I'm sure we're gonna see the same to kind of undo what's been done and then move forward in the right direction.
There's a lot of opposition to what Trump is trying to do, even from his own Republican Party. Do you have any concerns about the next 4 years?
I think there's going to be, it's still going to be an uphill battle. Just because he's back in office doesn't mean that the job's done. The job now is on every Republican, every American, every citizen to band together now and not let what happened before happen again out of apathy. And I think that just because also he's won and we're in a great place today, the people that don't want to see this happen are still going to try to come forward probably and make all the same trouble they have in the past. So, we pray for President Trump for safety, for his safety, and I think everyone just needs to still be vigilant, don't let off the gas, and keep an eye open and keep supporting President Trump and the American initiatives.
Thanks for talking to me, Gus. I really appreciate it. I'm here with Connie Bruni, who is the head of the Sarasota Republican Assembly. Connie, could you tell us a little bit about what just happened a few minutes ago?
Well, we had about 75 people in the cave here at the Hollow. It was quite exciting on the 85-inch screen to watch together the inauguration of President Donald J. Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance. It was so wonderful, and everybody brought food. We had a potluck meal that we shared together, and just a lot of food, fellowship, and a whole lot of fun.
Connie, there is a shift in power obviously right now, and with the president coming in the way he is, there's also a lot of lack of clarity, I think, or unity within the Republican Party, and we've actually experienced that here in Florida. What is your thought on what needs to happen within the Republican Party of Florida, because at the end of the day, we're a Democrat or Republican Party kind of country?
Well, in Florida, we have closed primaries, so you need to be either Republican or Democrat so that you can participate in the primary elections, which I find to be very important. This is really where the power struggle with the Republican Party of Florida started, with the fact that the Florida Republican Assembly and our local group made endorsements during the primary. The Republican Party of Florida would prefer to crown their own and not have anyone challenge their crowned nominees in the primary. That is not what a primary is for. It's a primary. It's a competition, not a coronation. And this is where there is a true disconnect that's going on, and why the Republican Party of Florida has come after the FRA is the ability to make those endorsements in the primary. The other thing that's happened is Evan Power, the current chair of the Republican Party of Florida, has simply chosen to ignore the fact that the FRA has been in existence since 1998 in Florida, which is 26 years, which makes us exempt to the part of the law that he wants to ignore.
So clearly, there's definitely some conflicting points of view within the Republican Party. How important is it, Connie, that this stuff gets sorted out? And importantly, as the volunteers kind of are dealing with this back and forth, what is your advice to volunteers? So 2 questions. How important does this get sorted out? And what is your advice to volunteers who are kind of caught in the crosswinds of these things? Because likely this is not going to get sorted out overnight. It's going to take some time.
Most likely, I think it will be adjudicated in the court system, which is unfortunate, but I do think that's the only place that's left at this point. It's very obvious that neither side wants to back down. And for local folks, it's even caused consternation and division within our local folks as well. So it's a great concern. But for me, I think it's a matter of principle. And the reality is, we knew that the RPOF was going to come after us because we've been very effective in the 2 short years we've been in existence. So for me, the concept of turning tail and running just isn't in my veins. It goes against my basic principles. And there are plenty of people here today who have the same feelings. And so we will move on.
Thank you, Connie, for speaking to us. As we wrap up this segment here, any final words?
We're just so excited for today that it's Liberation Day in America, and that our President Donald J. Trump has returned to the White House in his rightful place.
Guys, keep it tuned right here to CCN. We will be right back after this short word from the We the People Health and Wellness Center, located right here in Venice, Florida.
Imagine rewinding to 2020.
Parents obviously can equip their kid to go to school however they want, but there shouldn't be any coercive mandates.
Local school board members made a firm decision enforcing mandates that disregarded the voices of concerned parents.
This virus is going after our young children.
The emergency school board meeting in Sarasota dissolved into chaos as the board discussed mandating masks for students, which ultimately passed tonight.
Refusing to back down, thousands gathered at the Hollow, determined to secure exemptions for their kids. With the support of dedicated doctors, they navigated every path to shield their children from mandates. Yet, despite these united efforts, a darker challenge surfaced. Doctors who issued exemptions became targets, some even losing their jobs for standing by their convictions. That's when the decision was made, a bold new vision to create a sanctuary for children's health and a support system for parents' rights. Thus, We the People Health and Wellness Center was born, founded on a mission to serve, to support, and to protect. This vision has since expanded, aligning with the Make America Healthy Again movement and incorporating the most advanced treatment modalities. Additionally, We the People Health and Wellness Center has launched a series of transformative community-based events, each featuring a trusted expert. In December, Dr. Joseph Ladapo spoke about his new book to a packed audience. Next, Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, in an intimate lunch and learn. Still to come, Dr. Pierre Corey, Dr. Brian Artis, plus others. The new management, doctors, and staff of We the People Health and Wellness Center stand with you, ensuring that no parent will ever have to face medical tyranny alone again. We are here to empower, to inform, and to support you for a healthier community.
This This week on Political Pulse, guys, we have so much to talk about. We have a lot of fun things actually to talk about.
Yes.
First up, we are going to talk about Ashley Moody. She joins the Senate ranks after Rubio's State Department move. Ashley Moody has been appointed by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis to finish out Marco Rubio's U.S. Senate term as he moves into his new position as Secretary of State in the Trump 2.0 administration. Senator Moody served as a judge here in Florida for the 13th Judicial Court from 2007 to 2017 and was elected as Attorney General in 2019 and was reelected in 2022. At her acceptance speech, press conference where Ron DeSantis was in attendance, she expressed that she wouldn't let Governor Ron DeSantis down. She wouldn't let down the citizens of Florida or her country, our country, right?
Okay, yeah.
And she vowed to advance Trump's America First agenda on day one with the same passion and tenacity as she did while she was serving America's favorite state, the free state of Florida.
State of Florida. This is interesting because we're seeing in the Trump administration a lot of our Florida congressmen and women joining the ranks of the Trump administration. We always feel like we have very strong Republicans that represent us here in the state of Florida. My question is, Allie, what does this do in leaving that void for Attorney General? I think, we also have to think about the fact that we need somebody in the Attorney General's position here in the state of Florida that's more of a bulldog. So to leave this vacancy, I'm concerned to see maybe who might fill that. What do you think?
No, I agree with you. I think Florida definitely deserves somebody in the Attorney General's position that is definitely going to operate with no holds barred, right? We need someone that is going to go in and be constitutional, stand on principle, and operate in a way that we see Trump operating, right?
Absolutely.
We need someone that understands constitutional principles, someone that understands the law, and is not afraid to wield the tools within their tool belt.
And let's face it, there were other people that put their hat in the ring for this. I know Representative Corey Mills from Florida had met with Governor Ron DeSantis. Right. He said that went very well. However, Ron DeSantis was concerned about the majority that we hold in the House, which I think was kind of interesting because it's not like if Corey Mills wasn't appointed to this position in the Senate that we wouldn't also have a strong conservative to take his place. But
absolutely,
there were other options. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
I think Corey Mills would have been a great senator. He has shown and proven time and time again with his actions in, rescuing Americans that have been, abandoned by the Biden administration, doing that himself along with other representatives by his side and encouraging that for him to do that. I think his understanding of our Constitution and the states' rights, I think he would be a very good senator who understands that our states are sovereign, and he would definitely push forward Trump's agenda. He has been a Trump surrogate since 2016.
And that brings up a good point, guys. For those of you watching that maybe don't know, when Governor DeSantis chose to run for president in the Florida presidential primary, a lot of things happened here in the state of Florida. One of the things was that many of our legislators, I believe 70 some, as well as Ashley Moody, our Attorney General, signed on to his presidency. They endorsed him very, very publicly. And so there's become this sort of this pledge of allegiance to DeSantis, if I could just be honest and frank. And that kind of bothered me a little bit with it as well, knowing that there's other people that are equally qualified that could have been considered. Bottom line is, Allie, this will shape up to be, I think, maybe a showdown in 2026.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm so here for it. I'm ready. I can't wait.
We are ready. We love primary season. I want to make sure we pivot as well to talk about many of the pardons and the actions that Donald Trump is undertaking. Obviously, he hit the ground running on day one, not even day one. It was like, afternoon of day one. One of the things,
his victory rally.
Literally,
yes.
Signing executive orders in Capital One Arena, like on stage. It was amazing. One of the things is the J6 political prisoners that have been pardoned, but we're hearing word that not everybody has been able to be released. Some of the judges are slow walking the paperwork. And what have you heard about Jeremy Brown specifically? Because I know him and his family are from right here in our own backyard.
Yes, they are. So retired Florida Green Beret and two-time Bronze Star recipient Jeremy Brown, Master Sergeant, by the way, who was at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th in 2021, is currently serving a 7-year sentence in Pinellas County Jail. He wasn't arrested and charged with entering the Capitol or for being violent, but for simply being at the Capitol. And this has granted the weaponized federal agents the ability to conduct a search of Brown's home and his RV, which led to him being charged and convicted for obtaining illegally modified firearms and munitions, including 2 grenades. Now, just 4 days ago, on January 20th, President Trump signed a pardon for all J6 political hostages to be released immediately. But Brown was told on January 21st, just a few days ago, that he would be released by guards. He was taken out of his cell, brought down for out processing, and then was pulled.
His family went to go meet him.
He called them. Yes, he did. He called his girlfriend and his mom and his lawyers, and then he was waiting for a couple of hours. And then the guards pulled him to the side and told him that he was not going to be released, and they sent him back to his jail, who was completely ransacked by all the other prisoners. So he was there, and none of his items were there. So many are wondering why Brown is not being released, and what, if anything, can be done either by Trump or by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and the new Attorney General. They have actually been very quiet since all of this has occurred in 2020, 2021, his arrest and his conviction. It almost seems like because President Trump has now taken office, a lot of the ones, our representatives, a lot of our elected that have been very quiet about the J6 hostages are now being very vocal. So our call to action.
Yes, this is something, if I could just interject, Allie, this is something that I think we have to watch as Floridians.
Absolutely.
Because a strong leader doesn't wait for somebody else to lead. When you know something is right and you know something is wrong, you know that these J6 political prisoners were treated unfairly. They weren't given due process. So a lot of our elected officials, representatives in the House and Senate here in the state of Florida, have a law degree. They've got a large practice, usually practicing law themselves. So they understand how unjust this was. For them to wait until now, to jump on the bandwagon of wanting to free our political prisoners is something that should sound an alarm for all of us here in the state of Florida. But what's concerning to me, and we were talking about this on Patriot TV, one of our other shows that we have, is that as of about 5 a.m., Jeremy Brown has been moved. From what I understand at the time that we're filming this, his family doesn't know where he's at. His lawyer
don't know where he's at. That is very concerning. How are you moving political hostages or prisoners and their lawyers don't know where they are? That is an injustice.
And before we celebrate the wonderful release of the hostages in the Middle East, let's not forget we still have hostages like Jeremy Brown still suffering on American soil. So what is the call to action that we want?
The call to action right now is to call Governor Ron DeSantis' office at 850-717-9337 and maybe even call the new Attorney General and put a bug in his ear as well that there needs to be something done about Jeremy Brown. We cannot leave him behind. No soldier left behind.
No soldier left behind. Guys, we're happy to announce that we're also going to be speaking about, we're not letting this go silent. The next item on our agenda today is the MAGA Republicans, believe it or not, here in the state of Florida versus the Republican Party of Florida. There is going to be a court date on Monday, just a few short days away in Duval County, where we're going to be able to see the first step in litigating this. What's gone on is that the Republican Party of Florida has declared that basically they own the name Republican, which back in 1999, there was a court case, Allie. They tried this once before where it was disclosed that the word Republican is not trademarked. There is no trademark infringement in using it. So we in the state of Florida should be, and across the country, should be free to use the word Republican as we see fit. But not so under the current Republican Party of Florida leadership with Evan Power, right? He's claiming he owns the word Republican.
That's quite ridiculous, in my opinion.
Yes.
I think being the free state of Florida, and we understand our constitutionally protected rights, free speech is one of those. And you cannot control what other people say or put on their business cards or things of that nature unless it's trademarked. And as you've let our viewers know, the word or the term Republican is not trademarked, and neither is the elephant.
Neither is the elephant. I love that. So Robin Lum has come out to seek litigation. The reason that they're having litigation is because the Republican Party of Florida has determined that if you are a member of the Republican Party of Florida, as well as this other organization, the Florida Republican Assembly, that you are somehow in violation of these rules that the Republican Party of Florida under Evan Power have basically made up.
So they've adopted them and they're new. So this hasn't been something that has been in effect for quite some time. It's been something that has just recently been voted on. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And what this has done is it has kicked out a bunch of MAGA conservative, grassroots conservative Republicans from their membership in the Republican Party of Florida. So Robin Lum led the way in Duval County by filing suit. Of course, the Florida Republican Assembly under the leadership of Lou Marin have come out and joined that litigation now. They're going to have their first day in court Monday. I have to tell you this, Allie, because I was speaking with a source that we have, a very close source to what's happening. And I understand that the judge that's going to hear this on Monday is a Rick Scott appointee who tends to favor the underdog. Obviously, MAGA Republicans in the state of Florida in this case feel like we are the underdog. Another good thing to know is that under the direction of Evan Power, the Republican Party of Florida Executive Board has voted these rules in, right? So when you're a leader and you're following a leader, you think they're disclosing all of the facts to you, right? You would never think they'd lead you astray.
Right.
Well, by voting to exclude the Florida Republican Assembly members, they're actually violating Florida state statute that says that if you've been operating in the state of Florida for longer than 10 years, like the Florida Republican Assembly has been, that you're exempt from these laws that say you have to have the chairman's permission. So did Evan Power just cause the entire executive board of the Republican Party of Florida to break state law?
Oh my gosh, that's a little concerning, don't you think?
It's going to be very concerning. You'll have to keep it tuned here to CCN. We will be there Monday to get you the updates of what's happening. If you're in the Duval County area, obviously go to the Duval County Courthouse. I believe they start their hearing at 3 p.m., Allie. And we're going to be welcoming later Trent Wayman to talk more as our guest interview. But yeah, keep your eyes tuned to CCN. We want to see what happens between MAGA versus the Republican Party of Florida. So make sure you stay tuned for our guest interview. I want to pivot to something else that's occurring here in the state of Florida, and that is Governor Ron DeSantis' push to get our legislators together to figure out how we're going to work these deportations and this immigration policy that President Trump is signed into executive order. So
that is correct. Better late than never. The battle over immigration reform takes center stage as Florida Governor Ron DeSantis proposes a special legislative session to combat illegal immigration to assist President Trump's mandate for mass deportation of illegal aliens. This includes the following: law enforcement compliance, criminal penalties for illegal entry, unauthorized alien transportation programs, gang enforcement, educational and voting reforms, which essentially will repeal in-state tuition for illegal immigrant students, which I thought was already handled.
That's interesting.
But I guess not. We will figure that out during the special session once it's approved.
Right.
But also it will require U.S. citizenship of Florida, to require voter registration affirmation of U.S. citizenship and Florida residency, the increase in penalties for unauthorized aliens committing voter fraud or providing false voter registration information. Mind you, during the 2022 election and the 2024 election, we were told that this was not actually happening. So now that we are seeing that this is on the Florida governor's agenda for the special session, I'm quite surprised that he has admitted that. So I'm excited that this is going to happen because maybe we'll see some things move to combat that, moving on to the next to the primaries.
Allie, I have to say, I love how you brought in this segment. Better late than never. Hasn't Governor Ron DeSantis had this ability? Hasn't our legislature, both Senate and state, state Senate and state representative, haven't they had the ability to call a special session all along? Do you know why does it seem that they've waited until Trump has used the magic pen to jump on board with this?
Because strong leadership, I guess, leads the way.
Yes, I feel like Trump's coattails are very wide, and a lot of people jump on board. So if you want to see this tackled here in the state of Florida, you want to see your legislators jump on board to get this done finally. I would have liked to have seen it done a few years ago, but we'll just kick that down the road. What is the call to action, Allie? What can we do?
The call to action is just to call your state representatives, call your Florida House representative, your Florida Senate representative, and encourage them to put forth this special session, the special legislative session. We understand that some Republicans are pushing back on having a special session to battle over the immigration deportation mandate that President Trump is putting forward. So it makes you wonder who actually is for President Trump and who is actually against him.
And I think you need to take your pen out and make sure that you write down what their response is when you ask for this special session for them to do this along with Governor Ron DeSantis, because in 2026, we need to make sure we're primarying those who really didn't understand the mandate.
Always connect what they do while they are in session to what they say on the campaign trail. That's how we hold them accountable.
Thank you, Allie. That's awesome. Guys, stay tuned. We're going to have our guest interview next as Trent Wayman, State Committee man from Manatee County, joins us right here on CCN. Hi guys, welcome to CCN. Today we have Trent Wayman. He is the Manatee County State Committeeman, and we know him very well here at CCN, and I'm so glad that you joined us today, Trent. Thank you for coming on to CCN today.
Thanks for having me, Michelle.
Wonderful. Now, I have to ask you to explain to our viewers, because I wasn't aware of this, what is the State Committeeman position? How do you become a State Committeeman, and why is that important to each one of our counties here in Florida?
So the State Committeeman position is elected by the county voters. They go to the state party and they represent the county for the respective party that they're in. They also go to the county party and they're an at-large member of the county party, and they actually have voting power in the executive board meetings there as well.
Okay, so it sounds to me like, and I know here in Sarasota County, every county in Florida, you get a state committee man and a state committee woman. And then as I understand it, we also have in our counties a Republican executive committee, which has a chair. And so those three people are really a voice to our state party. Is that correct?
That's right. So the way the structure is set up is it's a representative form of almost like the Republican or the Republic government set up. Representative form of government. So every county has precincts. In each precinct, you have a certain number of voters. For every 1,000 voters you have in your precinct, you get a precinct committee man and a precinct committee woman. And those people go to the county party. Well, it's supposed to be once a month to represent the people in their precinct. They're also supposed to, work on get out the vote, canvassing, door knocking, that kind of stuff, that keep in touch with the voters, keep them up to speed on what's going on in the party. So anyways, the precinct committeemen and women go to the county party and they elect, every 2 years, they elect a chairman or a chairwoman to run the party for the county. So like you said, you've got the state committeeman, the state committee woman, and the chair from the county party that go to the state party. Those people, so in Florida, we have 67 counties. So that's a total of 201 people that go from each county or from all the counties up to the state party to represent. In addition to that, you have the national committeeman, the national committee woman, and then you've got appointed people by the governor, appointed people by the Senate and the House, and then the elected officials. And all total right now, I think it's around 250 or 260 that can go to the state party and vote. But the real power of the party it lies in the executive board. The executive board is made up of 34 people. Those 34 people are, so in Florida, we have 28 congressional districts. So each one of those congressional districts gets a vote at the executive board meeting on the quarterly and the annual meetings. Right. In addition to those 28 people, you've got the chairman, the vice chairman, the treasurer, and the secretary, and the national committee woman and the national committee man. Okay. So if you think about like the things that can happen in a party, I mean, for example, in Manatee County, our REC was suspended in September of last year. And that was done by 34 people. They decided basically to suspend our party for the whole entire county. We have 140,000 Republican voters in Manatee County. None of them had a say in whether they lost their party or not.
And this is part of the cry that I heard when I ran for office and knocking doors and going to events throughout the community. The reason a lot of people end up becoming NPA, no political affiliation, is they get very tired with party politics. And that really is whether it's Democrat or Republican. But in this case, we're talking about the conservative groups. So we're talking about Republicans. This is where we get our say. This is where we get our voice, is in these positions. And when you talk about there being 34 people in the state of Florida. When you think about how vastly large Florida is, this small executive board makes generally all the decisions for our party, for the Republican Party of Florida. So if we have people that identify similar to a Liz Cheney or a Jeb Bush kind of Republican, that's what you're getting sometimes in the executive board, as I understand it. I know our leadership under Evan Power, Bill Hemlick, these are not people that are friendly to MAGA Republicans, myself included. They're actually more friendly to Democrats than they are to Republicans. So when you have a small group of people at the head of the Republican Party of Florida that make all of the decisions, it makes people, other Republicans throughout the state, sometimes feel disenfranchised. So tell us a little bit more about what they did in Manatee County. I know Manatee County was very successful in getting grassroots individuals involved in the executive committee in Manatee County, but they disbanded that, right?
Yeah, like a lot of other people, when the 2020 election was stolen, we started watching The War Room with Steve Bannon. We saw Dan Schultz come on. He was talking about precinct strategies and precinct committeemen and RECs, and we were like, what is all that stuff about? So we went and checked it out. When we got involved, there was just a few people that were like us. But over the last 3 or 4 years, we brought in a lot more people. A lot of people that come in are coming in because they've seen Dan Schultz on The War Room.
Right.
So as time went by, our numbers grew. Well, when we got to, let's say, last August, we had quite a good majority of the people with us. And so when we went out to run our elections for the primaries, we didn't have any help from the local REC, the leadership, because they were working with the state and not giving us our meetings. We had one meeting last year, the whole year, and that didn't even last. So we had really no support from the local county, the power center of the county. So everything was done by grassroots organizations like the FRA outside of the RPOF or outside of the RECs. And everything we did was all, based on the group that we had built. Mm-hmm. So we went out and got all these grassroots candidates elected. Well, shortly after, they shut down our REC, and, you can kind of come to your own conclusions on why that is.
And here is the issue is that, to my understanding, the Republican Party of Florida is really just an organization. It's not like they're a separate part of our government. So they exist with their own laws and their own rules, their own bylaws that they put into effect. And what's happening, Trent, I know you're a part of this too, is right now they're trying to suspend and remove Republicans from within the Republican Party of Florida that actually carried dual membership with the Republican Party of Florida and the Florida Republican Assemblies. And this is actually, it's gutting our base here as far as grassroots are concerned and removing us from the Republican Party of Florida. So one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, do you ever see a way forward where maybe the Republican Party of Florida isn't the only voice in the state of Florida as far as Republicans are concerned? Do you think grassroots will be able to build something almost parallel, or do you see there being a change, predominantly Evan Power and Bill Hemlick, out of the Republican Party of Florida? What do you see happening?
I think that is the option that we have left. It's the grassroots has to do something parallel to what the RPOF is doing. There's so much, there's so many people that are not getting involved in all the counties, but there are enough people that are involved that want to do something other than what they're being offered. So I think that's the option that we need to start really looking at.
Exactly. And one of the things that I think God put on my heart the other day as I was driving white-knuckled through the snow in the Southeast here the other day is this idea that, we had very low turnout in the state of Florida in our primary elections. And of course, primaries are when you Republicans get out and you speak about what type of Republican you want to represent you. We had very low turnout throughout the state of Florida. However, we broke records in Trump's in the presidential race on November 5th. That means that there is a ton of people who do not identify with the Republican Party, but understood that they wanted what Trump put into action. And so those to me are more of your grassroots, maybe some NPAs involved. And I think if we can appeal to them, the ones that understand they're just as frustrated with party politics as we are, I think you might see something grow out of that. It's grassroots, right? We're planting the roots so that it can grow. And Trent, I just want to thank you so much, because I know you've been leading the way in this as far as putting yourself out there to run for committeeman. You were elected. You weren't allowed to vote in the most recent Republican Party of Florida meeting that they had. Tell us what's taking place now on Monday. There's a case that's being heard, correct?
Yeah, so there's a guy that's that lives up in Duval County. His name's Robin Lum. He's a member of the Florida Republican Assembly. He was shut out of the Republican Party by I guess Bill Helmick and Evan Power. I'm not really sure exactly what happened there, but he was shut out. They removed him from the party, so he filed a lawsuit. And on Monday of this next coming week, on the 27th, is it the 27th or the 28th? They're having
27th.
Yeah, there's going to be an emergency injunction hearing for that case to prevent them from doing that until the case is heard all the way through. So I think a bunch of people are planning on going up there to show support. I encourage everybody to get there if they can.
Yes. Absolutely, guys. Make sure you follow Coastal Conservative News on all social media platforms. We will keep you posted, because we will be heading that way as well. Trent, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people get a hold of you or follow you on social media?
So I'm on X and Getter at Wayminator with an I. I've also got a Substack. I'm putting out a Substack today on that power structure in Florida party, so you can take a look at that. And then, more importantly, there's an X account called Under the Red Wave that actually follows a lot of this type of stuff that we're talking about here today. Not just in Florida, but I've seen stuff in Texas, Georgia. I even saw one in Washington State today. So it's following stuff all around the country on this kind of stuff that's happening. So I encourage everybody to go to that account, follow it, and then go up to the settings and just turn on the notifications for it, so you can see what's going on and what they're restacking.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Trent, for joining us here on CCN.
Sure. Thank you, Michelle.
All right, guys, don't go anywhere. We have more CCN coming your way. But at first, do you like the banter back and forth between Allie and I? I realize it's not for everybody, but if you do, you've got to catch us Monday through Friday on Patriot.tv live. That's right, live, 10 a.m. Eastern. They should tune in, right?
Yeah, here's a quick preview of Open Mic. Let's take a look at our Faith and Focus segment coming up next.
Hi, guys. Welcome to Faith in Action right here on CCN News. We have a wonderful guest in studio with us today. This is Mike McKirahan. He is the Director of FCA, Sarasota County Sports Director, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So what is FCA? Because I noticed FCA's kind of nationwide, and then you've got your local Sarasota County chapter is what I'm guessing, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So FCA, or Fellowship of Christian Athletes, has been around since 1954. Taking the gospel and interjecting it into the sports profile, into college campuses. Right. That it's taking faith in sport and focusing it. Okay, nice. and so they've been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And so what we do here in Sarasota County, we have two pillars of Fellowship of Christian Athletes, if you will. We have the pillar that is campus focused. So the campus focused ministry is in each high school in Charlotte, Sarasota, Manatee County.
Wow, nice.
Has a FCA club that does ministry. Right here in Venice, we have a lunch program that average 200 students per week come. And, we get to feed them pizza and we get to share the gospel with them. We get to bring in local youth pastors to help share that message. The kids get to actually step up and share that message. They get to be discipled. And then we have the sports pillar, which that's my pillar of focus.
Right.
And so what I like to tell people is my calling, my mission is to infuse the gospel into community sports programs. And so our mission at FCA is to bring every coach and athlete into a growing relationship with Jesus Christ and his church.
That's amazing.
And so we do it in the campus ministry, and we do it in sports ministry. We do have other areas that we were just talking about, FCA Outdoors, and FCA is a very broad spectrum.
Right.
We have a lot of reach, but right now in this county, our main focus is campus.
Right.
And sports ministry.
Now, when you say campus, are you talking, is it everything from elementary through high school? Is it predominantly high school? And where throughout, give us some, are you in every school? Or is it's because I imagine it's got to be sponsored by a coach. A coach kind of brings you on board. Is that what it is?
A coach or a teacher.
Or a teacher, okay.
So we are, as defined by the U.S. government, we are a club.
Okay.
And so clubs are allowed into every campus. And so what we do look for is a coach or a teacher that wants to sponsor and come alongside that. And we are in a majority of campuses, high school campuses here locally, Sarasota High School. I know Venice High School, Northport High School has a very strong FCA presence.
Nice.
Sarasota High School, Riverview High School all have that strong FCA presence. We are also in the middle schools.
That's amazing.
And so that's been the biggest focus. We also do colleges. We have a coaches huddle in New College in Sarasota.
Wonderful.
And so if you go to some of the largest campuses in the country, you'll see an FCA club.
That's amazing.
On campus there doing ministry.
As somebody who played sports and not well, but as somebody who played sports, what a great way to reach the ear of our young people. I have to know, what type of sports do you typically find yourself involved with? Is it the soccer and football, or is it things like, I know I was involved in cheerleading. Yeah. What a great way to reach young girls, and especially in a field like dance and cheer, where I think we've discussed before, sometimes they need an extra dose of sort of the word, because between whether it's music or costumes, that can get really out of hand. So it's kind of nice that you're able to be there for all the sports. Are you involved in, do they have like cheerleading and?
Yes, they do. So
I'm asking for personal reasons.
so again, our mission, right, is every. And that was actually the theme of the, FCA 2 years back was every. And what that means is as a ministry, as missionaries, it is every coach and every athlete. Right. And so we do have a large cheerleader camp that goes on at Southeastern University every summer. And so, our focus is if it has a coach, if it has athletes, man, we want to have the opportunity to just share the gospel of Jesus inside that venue.
Well, I thank you for what you're doing. I think everybody, as we saw, everybody that has a child involved in schools not only needs to be involved in schools. We talk about going to your local school board meeting, getting involved in the schools. They need more volunteers, but something like this, what Mike is doing here in Sarasota County, it's a huge undertaking. I imagine there's a need for volunteers, and there's probably a huge need for funding. So this is a local audience, both here in Sarasota County and statewide. So why don't you let our viewers know, Mike, what can we do for somebody like yourself who's taking this on, and what can we do to help?
Awesome. So yeah, it is a calling. Any staff for FCA is a missionary. So we are 100% supported by fundraising, by donations. And so we love our partners. We love the people that are in relationship with us to build ministry here locally. And so yes, all of that, volunteers needed. So here locally in Venice, we actually have been blessed to be able to start 2 different sports programs, with a 3rd sports program starting here in February. So we got to launch FCA lacrosse. And so when FCA launches a sports program, we make sure the gospel of Jesus is at the very center of that program. And so every athlete gets a Bible. They do devotionals each week. They pray together. And not everybody, you're not required to be a Christian, but the character development that comes along with the values of FCA, integrity, service, teamwork, and excellence, man, are really ingrained in everything we do. And so we have the lacrosse program that's been incredible. It's blown up. We have a wrestling program here in Venice that we have about 30 elementary school and some junior high kids that go
Wow.
to, they get prayed over every practice. They get taught, the gospel. They get taught, and parents know that there's a standard of behavior for these coaches.
Wow.
That is lived out.
Yeah.
In their faith as coaches, but also in their faith at home as fathers and husbands and mothers and daughters.
Amazing.
And the one that I'm super excited about is launching in February, and that's the Young Adult Sports League. What we found was there was kind of a gap in ministry to adults who were 18 to 30 years old who had graduated high school. Once you graduate high school, you kind of leave your youth group, you leave the sports behind. And so we really wanted to create a ministry that spoke to those young adults. And so we're super excited. We're going to be doing flag football here in February. We're going to be doing volleyball, and then ultimate frisbee will be our last thing.
That's amazing. We've talked before. When you have young adult children, whether you're coming back just for the holidays from college or you're coming back and you're going back to work, there's very few things other than the beach. We have great beaches, but there's not a lot of activities that young adults can get themselves involved in, and a lot of them still are very talented in sports. Plus, if you just love things like football, it's a fun way to fellowship. It's a fun way to get out, make friends. So this is starting in February. It's here in Venice?
Yes, it is. It'll be actually, our games will be held at New Life Church on 41.
Oh, right on 41.
Yeah, and so we saw a big gap there, and we talked to a lot of young adults that said there's really nothing for us to do. And so we really wanted to provide that opportunity for fellowship, for competition, and just to grow in the Word. And so they're going to follow the same expectations and requirements that we have for everyone. And that's just we want to create a safe, energetic, competitive environment for people to not only do sports, but to engage their faith.
And it gives me an idea too, Mike, that if I'm somebody, if my church has a young adults group, this is something I would bring to their attention, because this is another outreach that your church can offer, to have them join the young adults. I mean, you're kind of bridging a bigger audience than just your local church, right? Yeah. That's amazing. I would get, if you're out there and you're thinking, your church has a young adult group, maybe mention the FCA of Sarasota County, mention what they're doing with this. Where can we find more information? I'm assuming there's a website.
Yeah, so we are SarasotaCountyFCA.org.
Okay.
And then you will click the ministry, you click the sports ministry tab, but also on socials. You can find us on Facebook, on Instagram, Sarasota County FCA Sports, Young Adult Sports League. They all have their own page.
Wonderful. Mike, thank you so much for joining us, and God bless you for what you're doing. The ministry is really, it's your walk every day, guys, whether you're in the department, we were joking earlier today with a friend of mine, whether you're in the department store, you're in line at the post office, or whether you're in the sporting arena. So thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah, you're welcome.
God bless you.
It's a blessing. Thank you. God bless you.
Here's a short message from True Dose. We'll be right back.
So Joey is our middle child. We have 3 kids. He's 13 years old, and he was born with a chromosome deletion, and he was diagnosed with autism and intellectual disability. When he was 8 years old, he was diagnosed with epilepsy, and he started having seizures almost once a week. When Vic told us about this treatment, and since he had his first treatment, he hasn't had a seizure. He's been seizure-free for over 3 months, and it's been a miracle, really.
I wasn't 100% sure if it was going to work on the level that it did, but I can say now, without a doubt, it really, really works. Nothing else has worked as good as this.
Right. He's been much happier. He's had a lot more energy. He's just been in a positive mood, talking more.
Interacting more. And just more vocal, and also very funny.
Right, and Joey will always be Joey. We love Joey the way he is. We just want him to be happy and healthy. He taught me patience, true unconditional love.
Acceptance,
yeah, right?
Joey's like an angel.
He is an angel.
All right, guys, don't go anywhere. I want you to check out this Medical Minute brought to you by We the People Health and Wellness Center. Check it out.
Hi, Nurse George. I have a question for you. What is the proper way to treat my child's fever?
Well, the first thing parents need to do is take the chill out pill. We really are getting to think that fever is the most horrendous thing can happen to the child right now. Too much internet. Fever is a natural reaction of the children to kill bacteria, virus. Is natural. It's made for that. Some doctors will say that actually fever is 101.4 and up, but where you measure is important. It's temporal fever. Okay. One of the other things you can do is just proper hydration. Make sure that they are not going up to 103, 104. Call the doctor if you don't feel comfortable. Most likely it's gonna go away in 2 to 3 days. So as long as the children is eating, pooping, and peeing, they're good.
Okay, good.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Catch us every Friday, 6 p.m.
We're on Rumble. That's right. Make sure you set to get reminders every Friday. You're going to want to check in with us 6 p.m. And guys, do you have a good story that you'd like for us to tell? Do you want to become a citizen journalist? We're all going to have to step up and do it. Make sure you reach out to us at contact@coastalconservativenews.com. Guys, we'll catch you next time.